news on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, Asuu suspends 2-week warning strike. Speaker Abbas seeks Nigeria-Algeria visa policy review and stronger ties. U.S. tariffs do not harm Nigeria as much as others, Foreign Minister says. And Netanyahu welcomes U.S. Vice President Vance at his Jerusalem office. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, has announced the suspension of its 2-week warning strike, giving the federal government a 1-month window to conclude the renegotiation of the 2009 FG Asuu agreement and address other unresolved issues affecting the nation's university system. President of the union, Professor Chris Piwuna, disclosed this on Wednesday during a press briefing in Abuja, said the suspension followed fruitful engagements with the federal government and key interventions from the National Assembly. Piwuna said that Asuu had declared the warning strike on October 13, 2025, after what he described as the government's failure to respond to several appeals to address the lingering renegotiation of the 2009 FG Asuu agreement and other welfare-related concerns of university lecturers. The Asuu president revealed that following the commencement of the strike, the federal government re-engaged the union through a team led by Alhaji Yayali Ahmed, which met with Asuu representatives on October 16th and 18th to discuss the government's response to the draft's renegotiated agreement. According to him, although the meetings did not fully resolve all issues, the union recognized that significant progress had been made compared to the pre-strike period. Piwuna also commended the intervention of the Senate Committees on Tertiary Education and TET Fund and Labor, as well as the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barao Jibrin, whose mediation, he said, had rekindled hope for a lasting resolution. He stated that the National Executive Council of Asuu, after an emergency meeting held from October 21st to 22nd, 2025, reviewed the situation and concluded that the warning strike had achieved part of its purpose, particularly in compelling the government to return to the negotiation table. He explained that the decision was taken as a mark of respect for the students, parents, and the media, the Nigeria Labour Congress, and other well-meaning Nigerians who had shown solidarity and mediated in the dispute. Asuu, however, warned that should the government fail to resolve the outstanding issues within the 1-month window, the union would be left with no option but to resume strike action without further notice. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has scheduled an extraordinary National Executive Council meeting to review the 30-day ultimatum earlier issued to the federal government. In a notice addressed to the National Officers Committee, caucus leaders, center presidents, and general secretaries on Tuesday, the association said the meeting will be held virtually on Saturday, October 25, 2025, to evaluate the government's response to the association's unresolved demands. The notice, signed by its Secretary General, Dr. Shaibu Ibrahim, said the outcome of the NEC meeting will determine whether the association will proceed with further industrial action. The association had on September 26th given the federal government a 30-day deadline to meet a series of outstanding welfare and policy demands affecting its members, saying that resident doctors and medical officers across the country continue to endure excessive and unregulated work hours, spanning several consecutive days, which endanger both their health and patient safety. The association also raised concern over the non-payment of the outstanding 25% and 35% upward review arrears of CONMES, which it said should have been settled by the end of August 2025, despite several engagements with the federal government. A bill to convert the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University from a specialized university into a conventional one, Bauchi has scaled second reading in the Nigerian Senate. The bill aims to allow the institution to offer programs across arts, humanities, and social sciences, expanding its academic scope beyond technology and engineering disciplines. Sponsor of the bill, Umar Buba, said the legislative efforts will help address issues of access and regional development, especially in Bauchi State, which currently lacks a conventional federal university.
Of this bill are to: 1. Make it a conventional university. Empower the university to offer courses and conduct research in all academic disciplines. Ensure equity and parity with other federal universities operating under similar conditions. To enhance collaborations, accreditation, and international recognition for the institution, and expand access to higher education in the Northeast Zone and Nigeria at large.
We must never forget to emphasize and in fact reinforce more investments in our polytechnics, where the kind of hands, the kind of brains that we need for moving our country on the wheels of technology will be given all the support that is necessary.
Now, I commend this bill if we see it from the perspective that the government can no longer fund the technological aspect squarely, as it were.
After extensive debates, the proposed legislation passed for second reading and was referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Education. The Red Chamber has also taken a major step towards strengthening worker protection with the proposal Social Security Bill that aims to create a unified framework for social security management, which also scaled second reading on the floor of the Senate. Leading the debate, the sponsor, Oluwole Cyril, highlighted the importance of the legislation with other contributors, arguing that if passed, it would strengthen enforcement mechanisms, ensuring that employees receive prompt and fair compensation.
To remove the word technology from its name and make it a non-specialized university, and for related matters 2025 SB 910, second reading taken. This bill is now referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund to report back to the Senate in 4 weeks.
Was referred to the Committee on Employment, Labor and Productivity, which is to report back in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the upper chamber has commenced consideration of the Criminal Code Act Amendment Bill 2025, transmitted to it by the House of Representatives for concurrence. The bill, titled the Criminal Code Act Amendment Bill 2024, aims to strengthen the prosecution of rape and other sexual offenses and close existing legal loopholes that allow offenders to escape punishment due to the restrictive time frame.
Colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Criminal Code Act Amendment Bill 2025 and approved the clauses 1 as recommended, clause 2 to 3 as recommended, or as amended rather, clause further consideration of the bill and the report deferred and referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action. Is this a true reflection of what transpired?
President Godswill Akpabio referred the bill to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative scrutiny and report.
President, please, may I speak? I'm a woman, and abortion has to do with women. It's very important, sir.
Let us go to clause. This has been stepped down in totality. Yes, you distinguished senator. Distinguished senator.
President, please.
However, there was a mild drama unfolded during the session when the senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, attempted to contribute to the debate but was ruled out of order after Senator Adams Oshomole raised a point of order.
President, please, may I speak? I'm a woman, and abortion has to do with women. It's very important, sir.
Let us go to clause. This has been stepped down in totality. Yes, you distinguished senator. This has been stepped down in view of the conviction, but if you have anything to add, you can say.
Thank you very much, sir. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, Kogi Central. Sir, this borders on abortion. And
yes, Senator. Your mic.
Mr. President, we have been tutored over and over that when a matter has been concluded and you have dropped the gavel, in this particular case, to allow for more conversation, if you grant exemption to distinguished Senator Natasha, then you must extend the same extension to us, in which case our rules will become meaningless. I think the rules should be obeyed. We have said more discussion, which allow her to make any input, and I also intend to make more input. I think that is the whole essence of deferring it. To continue the debate, many of us will rather debate it here. So I think my distinguished sister should agree that these are the rules. And those rules have to be followed. If you begin to exercise discretion of granting exemption here, you have to grant exemption there, and here we shall have no rules. Okay, I think the rules should be fair, and they should be applied the way you have done, even when I try to...
Distinguished Senator Adams Oshomole, I must add that I'm not a spirit to know what the senator wanted to say. The senator said, I want to say something. But if I knew, I would have referred her to Rule 52, sub 6. Rule 52, sub 6 says, it shall be out of order to attempt to reconsider any specific question upon which the Senate has come to a conclusion during the current session, except upon a substantive motion for rescission. So since the Senate has come to a conclusion and has stepped down this, it shall be out of order. So I ruled Senator Natasha out of order.
The House of Representatives has resolved to intervene in the recent face-off between members of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria and the Dangote Refinery. The resolution of the House followed the consideration and adoption of a motion of urgent public importance co-sponsored by Kano and Sokoto lawmakers, Al-Hassan Doguwa and Abdulsamad Dasuki, respectively, at plenary. In the motion, the lawmakers drew the attention of their colleagues to the significance of the Dangote Refinery and the need to protect it given its strategic significance to the nation's economy. Following the adoption of the motion, the House urged the Federal Ministries of Labor and Employment, Industry, Trade and Investment, and Justice to jointly develop and implement a national framework or set of policies to safeguard private investments of strategic national importance from adversarial and unlawful union actions. The face-off between Pengassan and the Dangote Refinery led to an industrial action which commenced on September 29, 2025, disrupting the operations at the refinery. It also led to a disruption in Nigeria's crude oil production, with a reported daily loss of approximately 200,000 barrels over 3 days, which affected petroleum supply situation across the country. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has called for a review of the visa policy between Nigeria and Algeria for a better bilateral relationship between the two African countries. Speaker Abbas made the call during his meeting with the Algerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, as part of his ongoing working visit to the North African country. He said the parliaments of both countries should work towards a bilateral visa facilitation framework, including visa-free access for diplomatic and official passport holders, and streamlined visa processes for ordinary citizens, business leaders, students, researchers, and cultural exchanges. Abbas also called for the revival of the Nigeria-Algeria Binational Commission to advance strategic cooperation between both nations, saying that the parliaments of both countries should strategize on how to fast-track the process. The speaker reaffirmed Nigeria's legislative support and commitment to the successful completion of the massive Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project, while assuring the Algerian minister of Nigeria's willingness to mobilize support for the project from other West African parliaments whose countries are involved in the project. Still to come, Niger governor mourns as 35 killed in tanker explosion. Fire guts section of Alaba market in Lagos. Details in a moment.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
This is Diaspora 5, where we spotlight bold voices and African excellence across Europe and America. Big wins, big vibes, fired every week, just for you. Across Europe and America, a vibrant story is unfolding. From the boardrooms to the dance floors, from red carpet premieres to cultural festivals, Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora are making waves. I am Ike Udechime. Join me as we highlight the voices and victories of Africans living in the diaspora. Welcome to Diaspora 5, where home meets the world.
We are local.
International communities observing when the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye. We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Governor Mohammed Bago of Niger State has expressed condolences to the families of the victims of a tanker explosion that claimed no fewer than 35 lives and left 17 people hospitalized. In a statement by his chief press secretary, Balogi Ibrahim, Governor Bago described the incident as worrisome, unfortunate, and pathetic. The governor prayed for the repose of the souls of the victims while expressing displeasure at the act of patrol scooping. The Niger State Police Public Relations Officer, Asuu Abiodun, said in a statement that following the accident, some residents had gone to the scene to scoop the spilled petrol and that fire engulfed the tanker while the residents were scooping the spilled content. Abiodun noted that out of the 48 victims affected by the fire, 31 people lost their lives at the spot of the incident, while 17 others sustained varying degrees of injuries. The tragedy adds to the growing list of tanker-related explosions across the country. No fewer than 70 persons were burned to death while scooping petrol from a crashed tanker in Niger State in January this year. Hundreds of lives have been lost in tanker explosions nationwide over the past year, prompting the federal government to launch a national awareness campaign on the dangers of petrol scooping. Joining us from Niger State to talk on the fire incident is Saliu Sabasabe. Good afternoon, Saliu.
Good afternoon, my sister.
Now, Saliu, can you tell us about the fire incident and how did the news come to you?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. In fact, on Tuesday night, a lot of this hold-up were around Mokwa down to Lapai, all in Niger State axis. So this tanker driver was coming down from Lagos, fully loaded with fuel down to the north. So reaching to the environment now, I think there was something that just happened. The driver was was off. I mean that he was caught by nature. So just within that moment, he lost control, and he just the vehicle, just crossed the road to a nearby bush and fell down. So instantly, something opened. The compartment opened, and the fuel poured down. So with that now, everybody rushed down, and a lot of people started coming in. Despite he was around shouting that people should not touch it, people should not touch it. You know how the situation is. Poverty has already, gone down or has eaten deep into the minds of the people, and a little thing now they see as they will just look at it as a national cake. So everyone want to have maybe a taste of it. So a lot of people just went down. In fact, at that spot, 28 people died. This morning that I'm talking to you, 4 people were also buried because they were buried. Mass burial was conducted that night, 12:15 to 12:45 in the night. So it was conducted. This morning, 4 people were also buried. And those that did not die sustained degrees of injuries because of the event were referred to the hospitals that we have around. Federal Medical Center in Bida, Omoro Sanda and Dayako Hospital. There's one hospital in Agaye in Lapai. But at the end of the day, it's like maybe the FMC seems to have gotten the right medication to the ailment. So they were all taken to FMC, that is Federal Medical Center in Bida. As I'm talking to you right now, our correspondent has reported back to me that efforts are now on. Since yesterday, when the state governor received the information, I think we even talked to the permanent secretary in charge of Ministry of Health, Niger State, and who told us that Mr. Governor has sent all those that were responsible for that to go to FMC this morning to see what they can to ensure that the lives of those that were in this inferno, that fell into this inferno, are relieved. So right now that as I'm talking to you, between 10 to 15 minutes, which I've gotten the information now, the state government team are in FMC Bida, evacuating all the inferno victims now to Gwagwalada Specialist Hospital, where they will get more medical treatment. As I'm talking to you right at this moment now. Yes.
Okay, can you tell us specifically about the casualty figures, the damage so far, and the rescue operation as well?
Well, as at now, as I'm talking to you, we've already gotten 35 to 37 because, as I said, yesterday 28 died at a spot, and mass burial was conducted. This morning, around 11:30 to 12:15, 4-2 joined the 28, which happened yesterday. So joined them. So right now, as I'm talking to you, we're still, some are also in a state of gaskia, a state of what we can call probability, because we don't know whether they will survive it. Yes, but all in all, some got injured because of this inferno that happened about 48, all in all.
Now, this is not the first time this incident is happening in your state. Personally, how did this incident come to you?
Well, you see, in fact, everybody seems to have, even most of the people that we conducted a phone-in program with, who are the residents in that environment, almost half a quarter of them lamented seriously about the situation where our people seems to have turned deaf ears to the warnings, sensitization, enlightenment that has been done. Despite this thing has been done, do you know the situation of Nigeria today? At the moment, anything a woof, you'll see people will be rushing over it. They want to have a taste of it. But anything that will make them to bring money out of their pocket, they will be looking at it as a waste of time. So, in fact, we've warned them, they've been warned. Enlightenment campaign, this, what do you call it, is it those in charge of emergency, you know, have been going around, road safety, point front. In fact, that is why in our radio station, we decided to even give at least 2 hours phone-in program every week for this road and safety issues.
All right, thank you so
people
much.
Should not indulge themselves in all these kind of situations.
All right, thank you so much, Saliu, for giving us this update on what is going on in Niger State. And we'll still keep in touch for more developing events as they occur. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you, my sister. Thank you.
And elsewhere in Lagos State, a section of the Alaba International Market was also engulfed by fire on Tuesday evening, destroying goods and properties yet to be ascertained. Reports speak of a thick smoke and flames rising from the furniture section of the market, located near the Ojo Local Government Town Secretariat in Ojo Town. The blaze started from a little spark before spreading rapidly through adjoining shops, while traders stood at a distance, visibly distressed as their shops went up in flames. Operatives of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service or other emergency responders later arrived at the scene to battle the fire. The Supreme Court has reserved judgment in the suit filed by the People's Democratic Party, controlled state challenging President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. A 7-member panel of justices, led by Justice Iyan Okoro, announced the reservation of judgment after parties in the suit adopted their written addresses and processes. The plaintiffs are the attorneys general of 10 PDP-governed states, while the federal government and the National Assembly are the defendants. Lead counsel for the plaintiffs, Eyitayo Jegede, clarified that the action was not to contest the president's general power to declare a state of emergency, but to question the extent to which such a proclamation could lawfully affect the offices of a governor, deputy governor, and state assembly. In their suit, the PDP states asked the Apex Court to determine whether the president had constitutional authority to suspend elected officials and replace them with a sole administrator under the guise of a state of emergency. But the suit was opposed on behalf of the president by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, who filed a preliminary objection urging the court to dismiss the suit, which he described as speculative and lacking merit. A magistrate court sitting in Kuje, in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, has remanded the brother of Nnamdi Kanu, Prince Emmanuel Kanu, and his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, in Kuje prison for their participation in the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest on Monday in Abuja. Nnamdi Kanu's younger brother, Kanuta Kanu, disclosed this in a post on X shortly after the court session on Tuesday. The Nigeria police had arraigned Ejimako and Emmanuel Kanu and 10 others following the Abuja Monday protest and charged them for inciting disturbance and breach of public peace in disobedience to a court order. They were further accused of denying other citizens the freedom of movement, disrupting free flow of traffic while chanting war songs and requesting for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Kanuta Kanu has described the action as conspiracy from the executive, legislature, and judiciary to frustrate Kanu's trial on Thursday. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, has ordered a multi-agency review of the proposed presidential pardon list. The probe, which involves the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and the police, may result some of the nominees being dropped. President Bola Tinubu is said to be awaiting the submission of the vetted list for his final endorsement, amid efforts to ensure only eligible beneficiaries were cleared. The president had, in the exercise of his constitutional powers, granted clemency to 175 persons convicted of various offences, which was announced by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, at the Council of State meeting held on October 9, 2025. The beneficiaries include posthumous pardon for Ogoni 9, reduction of terms of imprisonment, and inmates on death row whose sentences were commuted to life imprisonment, some which have sparked controversy, as security, law enforcement, and anti-graft agencies oppose the presence of certain high-profile offenders. Abia State government has debunked what it described as a false and mischievous report circulating on social media and some online platforms, alleging that Governor Alex Otti has defected from the Labour Party to the All Progressives Congress, APC. A statement by the Commissioner for Information, Oke Kanu, said the report is a fabrication by political propagandists who are unsettled by the governor's consistent delivery of good governance and his growing popularity across party lines. Kanu, who described the publication as a desperate attempt to distract the people of Abia and sow seeds of confusion where none exists, assure the people that Governor Otti remains a committed and proud member of the Labour Party, the platform under which the people of Abia overwhelmingly elected him to serve. He added that Otti's focus to rebuild Abia, restore accountability, and deliver the dividends of democracy to every citizen of the state remains unshaking, insisting that such values are synonymous with the Labour Party's ideals, which the governor will never compromise for any political expediency. From vibrant colors to bold expressions, creativity once again took center stage in Enugu as artworks were on display at the 2025 Life in My City Art Festival, LIMCAF. At the event, the Enugu State government urged Nigerian youths to look inwards, explore their creativity, and see art not just as beauty, but a voice for change. Correspondent Chinemerem Ikebunam has the details.
The Life in My City Arts Foundation, popularly known as LIMCAF, has over 18 years remained Nigeria's most consistent platform for nurturing young artistic talents. Since 2007, the foundation has celebrated creativity and empowered thousands of young Nigerians through competitions, exhibitions, mentorship, and workshops. At the opening ceremony of the year's Top 100 Arts Festival held in Enugu, the State Commissioner for Tourism, Ugochi Madueke, urged Nigerian youth to channel their energy into creativity and innovation. She said art goes beyond aesthetics, describing it as a powerful means of expression and national pride.
I encourage them to be creative. I encourage them to dare to join, to dare to sing, to dare to be heard through art. I mean, it's a gift, and anybody who is an artist is blessed. So I encourage every youth out there to try, give it a try.
Program Manager of LIMCAF, Adora Ojungu, explained that this year's festival features 100 outstanding artworks selected from over 750 submissions nationwide. She noted that the works will be available for sale after the grand finale on Saturday, October 25th.
This is the opening ceremony for our grand finale. The theme is Can We Breathe? So usually this is a year-long festival that starts in January towards the end of the year. This year we received over 750 entries from young artists all over Nigeria. Every artwork here is up for sale. Unfortunately, we don't give it up until after the exhibition. If it's a winning work, you can't take it. So we encourage people to put their red tag, indicate interest, by tomorrow you see all the price tags. So indicate interest and they are up for sale.
Art lovers were captivated by the diverse range of paintings, sculptures, and digital art, each piece telling a story of identity, culture, and resilience.
I love art. I love art in every form. I love 3D art. I love oil on canvas. I love art. I've seen a lot of work that is inspiring me. I've seen the oil painting. I've seen the charcoal. I've seen the water thread. I've seen, oh my God, it's awesome.
The highlight of the event was the ceremonial ribbon cutting, officially declaring the gallery open.
On this note, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to declare open the 2025 edition of the Life in My City Arts Festival. I hereby declare this open in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Guests, patrons, and government officials then took a walk through the works on display, appreciating the depth of talent manifested by young creatives. In Enugu, Chinemeremi Kebunam, Signature TV News.
The Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited has provided a fresh update on its earlier announced 10-day blackout in Enugu. The power distribution company had announced on Monday that customers in Enugu State will experience power outage from Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 to Friday, October 31st, 2025 between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. However, following concerns raised by members of the public, Main Power has issued a fresh statement disclosing that the maintenance would be done in phases as part of the ongoing rehabilitation and reinforcement projects by the Transmission Company of Nigeria at its New Haven station. Head of Corporate Communications for MEDL, Emeka Eze, stated that the exercise will affect the 33 kV feeders on specified dates, with Kingsway Line 1 experiencing outage on 22nd October, followed by MNA Industrial Line 1 on 23rd October, and Thinkers Corner on 24th October. Under the arrangement, Transekulu will be without power supply on 25th October, Kingsway Line 2 and 9th Mile on 26th October, MNA Industrial Line 2 on 28th October, while Ugogo will take its turn on 29th October, with Ituku Ozala being in darkness on the 31st of October 2025. Eze, who explained that customers will only experience supply interruption on the day their feeder is scheduled for maintenance, expressed regret for any inconvenience the exercise will cause them, while appealing for their understanding as the project is aimed at improving the service quality. Up ahead, Louvre Museum reopens for the first time since jewelry heist. Gazans prepare for mass burial of unidentified Palestinians killed during war. These and more after the break.
We are local.
The international community is observing
Just finished the Where the main market is in chaos. People are...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Tariffs imposed by the United States do not harm Nigeria to the same extent as they do other countries, Nigeria's Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga said on Wednesday in an interview at the next Gulf Summit in Abu Dhabi. Asked about the impact of U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policy on Africa's most populous country. Tuggar said Nigeria was not focusing on one particular axis and cited trade with China, Brazil, and India, as well as the government's pursuit of strategic autonomy.
In the case of Nigeria, the tariffs imposed by the U.S. Do not necessarily harm Nigeria to the extent that they may others. One, because we are a very large country, like you said in your introduction, a country of 230 million people, so we have a huge internal market, and we've got not only size, but we've got scale, autonomy. So we trade with the US, we trade with China, we trade with Brazil, we trade with India, and our focus is not necessarily on one axis or the other, or especially in a multipolar world.
President Donald Trump aims to deport millions of immigrants who are in the United States illegally, and his administration has sought to ramp up removals to third countries as part of that crackdown. The Louvre Museum in Paris reopened on Wednesday, 3 days after thieves stole historic royal jewelry worth an estimated 88 million euros. Visitors queued and began entering the building for the first time since the brash heist on Sunday, which made headlines worldwide. The United Arab Emirates normalized relations with Israel to foster tolerance and change mindsets in the region. UAE Minister of State Lana Nusseibeh said during a panel at the Reuters Next Gulf Summit in Abu Dhabi on Wednesday.
In a state of the world where fragmentation is the norm, where you're seeing an erosion of one multilateral system that governs the international space, diplomatic agility and entrepreneurship is key in that space. And I think that's, I'm proud to have represented the foreign ministry for over 2 decades in this space, because I think where creative entrepreneurship in diplomacy is needed, the UAE has shown that, whether it's mediating over 5,000 prisoner exchanges between Russia and Ukraine, whether it's being, as Dr. Gargash has outlined, a key partner with the Arab region, but also with the United States and with Israel, using the Abraham Accords to help achieve this ceasefire in Gaza that was so desperately needed.
The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain signed the Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with Israel in 2020 during U.S. President Trump's first term in the White House, breaking a long-standing taboo to become the first Arab state to recognize Israel in a quarter century. Morocco and Sudan followed suit. Anwar Gargash, the diplomatic advisor to the UAE's president, called on Wednesday for an immediate ceasefire in Sudan. In an interview at the Reuters Next Gulf Summit in Abu Dhabi, Gargash said Sudan's future should involve a civilian transition rather than a military junta, stressing that Sudan is currently not letting the UAE play the humanitarian role it plays in Gaza, but expressed readiness to scale up efforts once it was allowed to.
We are calling for an immediate ceasefire. We are calling for scaling humanitarian support. And most importantly, we don't see the future of Sudan in a military junta. We see the future in Sudan in a civilian transition. On the humanitarian side, we're working on the margins because we are not allowed to go in, and conditions also in Sudan itself is not allowing us to play the role that we are playing in Gaza. It's interesting that an Israeli government is allowing us to put all this aid in Gaza, while the Sudanese general is not allowing us to do that. Very interesting, but sad.
The Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have been fighting for control of Sudan since April 2023, creating the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The hotspot for fighting is Al-Fashir, the army's last stronghold in the Darfur region, which the RSF aims to be its base for a parallel government it installed over the summer. The Sudanese army accuses the United Arab Emirates of providing the RSF support including advanced weaponry and mercenary fighters, charges the UAE has denied repeatedly. Relations between the two countries have soured, and most recently, the UAE has imposed a de facto embargo on Sudanese gold, dealing a blow to the country's economy, traders, and officials. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance with a ceremony at his office in Jerusalem on Wednesday. The U.S. increased pressure on Hamas on Tuesday, October 21st, to disarm the next phase of an already fragile Gaza ceasefire, as President Donald Trump pushed to cement an end to the devastating conflict. Vance said on Tuesday the ceasefire plan was going better than expected, but warned the Palestinian militant group it would be obliterated if it did not cooperate, echoing a Trump threat earlier in the day of fast, furious, and brutal force. Israel and Hamas have accused each other of repeated breaches of the truce since it came into effect 11 days ago, with flashes of violence and recriminations over the pace of returning hostage bodies, bringing in aid, and opening borders. Israel has killed at least 87 Palestinians since the ceasefire began, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, and 2 Israeli soldiers were killed in southern Gaza over the weekend. A delegation from Hamas said at a meeting with Turkish government officials on Tuesday that the group remains committed to the ceasefire deal, despite what it called Israel's repeated violations, according to a Hamas statement. Preparations were underway in Gaza's Deir al-Bala on Wednesday morning for the burial of 54 unidentified bodies in a mass graveyard, the Gaza government media office said. The bodies were handed over in return for remains of deceased Israeli hostages, and according to Israel, are of militants who invaded Israel on October 7, 2026, or were killed in battle with Israeli forces in Gaza during the 2-year war. Israel and Hamas have accused each other of repeated breaches of the truce since it came into effect, with flashes of violence and recriminations over the pace of returning hostage bodies, bringing in aid, and opening borders. Israel has killed at least 87 Palestinians since the ceasefire began, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, and 2 Israeli soldiers were killed in southern Gaza over the weekend. Fuel trucks and others carrying aid bound for Gaza headed on Wednesday from Egypt's Rafah towards the border crossing. The humanitarian supplies are expected to transit through the Israeli-controlled Kerem Shalom crossing before entering the Palestinian enclave. Inside the enclave on Tuesday, aid was flowing in through 2 Israeli-controlled crossings, Palestinian and UN officials said. However, with Gaza residents facing catastrophic conditions, aid agencies have said far more needs to be brought in. The UN World Food Programme said supplies were ramping up but fell far short of its daily target of 2,000 tons, saying it was because only 2 crossings into Gaza were open. It said none had reached the famine-hit north of Gaza yet. That's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwoha. Thanks for watching.